When it comes to zombies, there's been a fair amount of lead directors for the game mode throughout its history, some more liked than others, but have definitely left a larger impact for the history of the zombies game mode compared to other directors. This video isn't about finding the best director or lead in zombies, it's about speaking about their moment in time as a leader for the game mode, the impact they left, some weird or fantastic decisions they made, and as always, if you have any opinions about your favorite lead director for zombies, let me know down below and make sure to keep it respectful. But with that being said, let's talk about someone you may not have heard about in a while. Lee Ross was the associate project director for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Zombies at Infinity Ward. He was an employee at Neversoft before it merged with Infinity Ward in 2014, and he joined Treyarch and worked on the Blackout mode in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. He previously worked on Call of Duty Ghosts and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. He also wrote all the dialogue for both the Extinction and Zombies mode of the two games respectively. On May 9th, 2020, Lee Ross left Treyarch and Activision. As of 2023, he's currently working at Highware Games as Director of Development in 6 Days of Fallujah. Let's talk about these two games quick before diving into some deeper issues with Ghosts and IW Zombies. Call of Duty Ghosts was a game mode people really don't like looking back to for a multitude of reasons. Unfortunately, because there are a lot of issues with the game mode, and nowadays you can really see the clear signs of why it just wouldn't work. First off, the maps, or missions. Now that's the first issue. Missions in Ghosts. For each of these maps, they are linear. There is no other way of playing them. If you want your standard survival experience, high round experience, or just any survival experience in general, you're not going to be getting that. It starts here and it ends here, or I should say it ends here since I'm showing off point of contact. If you love repetitive games, then Extinction is for you. And Lee Ross had some great ideas with Extinction, especially within the later maps like Nightfall and Mayday, where more mechanics were introduced. But as said, since these are just missions, they don't last as long as the player stands, unlike zombies. It can really get boring after you beat it a couple times, and take this with a grain of salt obviously, because not everything about Extinction is bad, and I do plan to do a more in-depth video about it. But what about Lee Ross's other work at Infinity Ward? Infinite Warfare Zombies can be described in 2 words. Absolute cinema. Each map, each Easter egg, each boss fight, each gun variant is made with love and passion that players seem to turn their heads away from. For some of the reasons, it does make sense, but for a lot of them, it's completely inexcusable in my opinion. Zombies in Spaceland became an instant classic and is even a top 5 or top 3 for a lot of people within their tier lists nowadays. But the later maps seem to just dwindle down more and more for players, either seamlessly too easy like Grave in the Redwoods, or just way too complicated like Shaolin Shuffle, or just plain confusing like A Beast from Beyond. But IW in my eyes, as someone who played it for countless hours, hitting level 999, I can assure you that Lee Ross hit the nail in the coffin for being able to provide not only a fun experience, but a memorable one, because maps like Raven the Redwoods Easter egg might be too easy, but the Ghost and Skulls 2 will leave you with that challenge you were itching for. Attack of the Radioactive Thing may have been a tough Easter egg setup, but a fantastic and unforgettable boss fight. Even for that moment within Beast from Beyond when you manage to put all your skills to the test and be able to successfully beat Mephistopheles, it is literally a moment you will never forget, especially since you unlock Director's Cut for your profile. If you haven't played IW, give it a chance. And I made a plethora of videos about it, talking about each map within great detail. I even made a documentary about it. I love IW so much, and it was really just an underappreciated game mode. I think Lee Ross did a fantastic job, and he left a huge impact on me as a Zombies fan. But let's talk about someone more Treyarch related. Jimmy Zielinski was a member of the original team behind Nazi Zombies in Call of Duty World at War. He was then responsible for the Zombies experience in Call of Duty Black Ops and Call of Duty Black Ops 2, excluding Mob of the Dead and Origins. Jimmy Zielinski's maps are always a mixed bag for people, since some find them way too annoying and difficult, especially when it comes to the main quest, since it does require 4 players most of the time, or people completely love them for the casual sandbox survival experience. Maps like Kino or Ascension are just fine examples of this perfect casual experience that players can jump in anytime they want. I think Jimmy was overhated at one point because for a map like Dire Eyes, which for some reason left PhD Flopper out, you know, the only perk that allows you to not take any fall damage and negate damage to explosives, it actually works out better this way. But why? If you don't know what a crutch perk is, it's a perk you will choose every time you play a map no matter what. PhD would have been that in Dire Eyes, and the fact they didn't include it was actually a really smart decision that most people don't really think about. There's definitely some real stinkers out there like Transit, Nuketown, and Call of the Dead. Yes, that's right. I think Call of the Dead sucks. It's overrated. You can fight me about that. Jason Blundell was the co-studio head and game director at Treyarch. Blundell started working on the Call of Duty franchise as a producer for Call of Duty 3, and he became executive producer on Call of Duty Black Ops, and was one of the campaign design directors for Call of Duty Black Ops 2. He also directed 2 maps for the Zombies mode of Black Ops 2, being Mob of the Dead and Origins, and Blundell also directed the campaign and Zombies mode for Call of Duty Black Ops 3, taking over the position previously held by Jimmy Zielinski. He remained game director for the Zombies mode of Call of Duty Black Ops 4 after the career mode was cancelled, and on November 2016, Blundell became co-studio head of Treyarch alongside Dan Bunting and Mark Gordon. But on February 28th, 2020, Treyarch announced Jason Blundell was leaving the studio. If I had a list of things that Jason did right when it came to zombies, it would be endless. Even in Black Ops 4, which I started to play again recently, there are so many things I used to hate about this game when it first came out, where now as I replay maps like Blood of the Dead, Classified, and 9, it really wasn't all that bad, or was it? Most notably in Jason's career, it's no surprise how even nowadays in 2025 and getting close to 2026, most people always mention Mob of the Dead and the very oh so iconic Origins in Black Ops 2, a literal staple in the Zombies game mode history when it came to setting up the foundation for replayability within future maps, and Easter eggs especially when it came to the introduction of 4 variant wonder weapons, such as the staffs. Some people that are watching this might think that Jason just has a gun pointed at my head for just how much greatness and good I'm talking about. Jason put so much thought, effort, and love into the Zombies game mode that mostly every map that was released while he was directing and leading Zombies has proved to not only be a great map, but memorable in each of their own unique ways. As I said, with Origin's spectacular quest, Der Eisendrock's beautiful castle and architecture, and Black Ops 4 perk change, which did leave a lot of people conflicted, but as more time goes on, it seems like people are growing more and more to Black Ops 4. Myself included. I never thought I would go back to Black Ops 4. Compared to the previous leads of Zombies for Treyarch or other titles, it was clear that Jason was always 10 steps ahead of the game. He was literally playing 3D chess while everyone was struggling with checkers, and it's still evident why Jason was so ahead of his time, even with the current director we have now in Treyarch, Kevin Drew. Drew started working on the Call of Duty franchise as a designer and scripter for Call of Duty Black Ops, and was responsible for the designs of several campaigns, multiplayers, and zombie levels. He was the design director for levels like Blood of the Dead and Ancient Evil, also designing the Outbreak experience and the zombies mechanics in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, I'm not going to just lash out at Kevin Drew or just go full on hate mode and say that he did the shields wrong, the perks wrong, map designs wrong, but just the recent experience with Cold War and Black Ops 6 especially, for someone that was a level designer for multiple things across the entire board for Call of Duty, since Kevin Drew has touched upon multiplayer and the zombies game mode, how the hell did he manage to make a map like Liberty Falls so boring? Liberty Falls is a fucking snooze fest. Seriously, even a map like the Tomb was extremely small and pathetic, but there was some fun ideas with trying to get the golden shield, where over time your shields automatically regenerate, which is a really cool concept, but in all reality, these maps across the board do not share that same love and passion as the previous leads of Zombies. But even then, I've heard some talk online about what Kevin is even allowed to push out and actually get approved. The point I'm trying to get at and what I'm trying to say is that there's a possibility that the reason why Liberty Falls is so boring was out of Kevin Drew's control. It's unfortunate that this is the case and he got the heat for it, but this is just what I've been seeing online. And take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know the inner details of Treyarch, but when I see comments explaining how he doesn't have that full control over and over again, maybe things do make sense for why some of these maps are more boring, but as I said, I don't know. Fact check me, I guess. Leave your facts in the comments and your sources, because I always find this really interesting when I see a comment like that. But with that being said, if you made it this far in the video, thank you guys for watching, and let me know your thoughts on your favorite lead director within the Zombies game mode throughout the history. There's literally a whole history to look through nowadays, and it's incredible to see what has been released before to now, and even comparing a map like Liberty Falls to something that came out over 10 years ago like Mob of the Dead. Appreciate you guys for watching. Catch you later.